The restaurant was glowing with golden chandeliers, soft piano music filling the air. Men in pressed suits raised glasses of wine, women in gowns laughed delicately at candlelit tables. It was the kind of place where money whispered in every detail, the crystal, the silver cutlery, the imported roses on every table. At one corner sat Jonathan Hale, a self-made millionaire. He was in his early 40s, tall, handsome in a weary kind of way. His plate was half full, though he'd already lost interest in the food. He stared into the glass of wine, thinking about how wealth had filled his life with possessions but emptied it of meaning. Behind the tailored suit and reputation, Jonathan carried a loneliness that money couldn't erase. As he motioned for the waiter, ready to leave, a timid voice broke through the polished silence. "Excuse me, sir, may I have your leftovers?" The restaurant froze, heads turned, gasps whispered across tables. Jonathan looked down. There she was, a young woman, no older than 25, her clothes worn and patched, shoes scuffed from too many miles walked. Her hair was pulled back loosely, strands falling across her pale, tired face. But it was her eyes, large, trembling with hunger yet filled with dignity, that silenced the room. The waiter rushed forward, scolding her. "You can't be here. This is a private dining establishment." Jonathan raised his hand. "Wait." His voice was calm, deep, commanding. He looked straight into the young woman's eyes. "What did you say?" Her lips trembled, but she forced the words out. "Please, sir, I'm not asking for money. Just your leftovers. For me and my little brother. He hasn't eaten in 2 days." The room held its breath. Some diners frowned, others sneered, a few looked away in shame. But Jonathan saw something different. In her eyes, he saw the reflection of a past he had buried, the nights he himself had gone hungry as a boy after his father walked out, leaving his mother to scrape and fight for every crust of bread. He pushed his plate toward her. "Sit down," he said softly. The young woman shook her head quickly. "No, sir, I can't. I insist." His voice was firm but kind. He signaled to the waiter. "Bring another plate, and double the order." Gasps again. The young woman hesitated, clutching her hands, her eyes wide with disbelief. Slowly, she sat. Tears welled as the waiter, now uncomfortable, set fresh plates before her. She ate with trembling hands, whispering apologies between every bite. Jonathan didn't take his eyes off her. "What's your name?" "Lila," she said softly. "My brother's name is Samuel. He's only 8. I lost my job 2 months ago. The rent took everything. I promised him I'd find a way." She broke into quiet sobs. "I just couldn't go home tonight with nothing." Jonathan's chest tightened. The restaurant around him faded, the laughter, the music, the whispers. All he saw was Lila, and all he heard was the echo of his own childhood hunger. When she finished, she tried to stand quickly, embarrassed. "Thank you, sir. Truly, I'll go now." But Jonathan leaned forward. "Where do you live?" She hesitated, then whispered, "A shelter, down by Riverside." Jonathan reached into his pocket, pulled out a card, and slid it across the table. "Tomorrow morning, come to this address. Ask for me. Don't be afraid. Just come." Her eyes widened. "Why?" He smiled faintly. "Because sometimes miracles begin with a plate of leftovers." The next morning, Lila stood nervously outside a tall glass building downtown. She clutched Samuel's small hand, his face thin but hopeful. Jonathan's card trembled in her other hand. She almost turned away, afraid it had been some cruel joke. But Samuel looked up at her with those innocent eyes, and she found the courage to step inside. The receptionist's demeanor changed the instant she handed over the card. Soon, Lila was escorted to the top floor. When the doors opened, there was Jonathan, in his office, waiting. He rose, smiled warmly, and bent down to greet Samuel first. "You must be the brother I heard about." He handed him a toy car, the boy's eyes lighting up instantly. Then Jonathan turned to Lila. "I didn't bring you here for pity. I brought you here because I see something in you. Strength, determination, dignity. My company doesn't just need employees, it needs people like you." Her eyes filled with tears. "But I'm nobody. I've failed so many times." Jonathan shook his head. "You are not nobody. You are a fighter, and I think you've only just begun." He offered her a job, along with a small apartment the company kept for employees in crisis. Lila collapsed into tears, clutching Samuel, unable to believe what was happening. Over time, Lila thrived. She proved herself intelligent, hardworking, compassionate. She became more than just an employee, She became Jonathan's confidant, his reminder that wealth meant nothing without kindness. And one evening, months later, Jonathan visited the shelter where Lila once stayed. He donated not money alone, but time. He helped serve meals, shook hands, and looked into the eyes of the forgotten. All because one hungry girl had once asked him for his leftovers. Lila never forgot that night in the restaurant. Samuel never forgot the toy car. And Jonathan never forgot the eyes that reminded him of who he once was, and who he could still become. Sometimes miracles don't fall from the sky. Sometimes, they begin with a whisper, a plate of food, and a heart willing to see beyond the surface. So if you've made it this far, remember this: never underestimate the power of a small act of kindness. You never know whose miracle you might become. Sparkles, if this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more emotional kindness stories. Your support helps us spread hope.